One of the most frustrating things that can happen when you're doing cash flow analysis, whether it's historical or trying to get a handle on what's going to happen in the future, is feeling like you're chasing variability that doesn't really have a root cause in the operations of the business, and which seemingly and magically fixes itself. Those are often an indication that you've got a timing problem somewhere inside your cash flow analysis. And it could be in the design of the process itself. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you've decided that you're going to do a cash flow analysis on a weekly basis. And that's rooted in things that your company, you, your clients, whomever want to understand in terms of cash flow. And often the key driver behind that is one of not having a huge safety net in the bank or kind of running up against the top of a line of credit. It's not dire circumstances by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something that requires a little bit more attention. And that's what's really led you to that weekly basis. Otherwise, it might be fine to do it on a monthly one. But certain elements of the company's financial activities are not done weekly. The most common of these are things like payroll that gets paid every 2 weeks or twice a month, debt payments that happen once a month, rent that gets paid once a month. And when I say this, I'm talking about things that are significant that are not done on a weekly basis. You may only run payables every other week as well. That could certainly influence your analysis. And if you've chosen weekly, but you've got a whole bunch of things that are running every other week or on a monthly basis, you really may want to stop and look at how that analysis is working, that timing of the analysis is working or not. Because if it's just creating panic on the weeks that payroll is running, and then everyone can breathe a sigh of relief on the other weeks, that's probably a sign that one of two things needs to happen. One is that you need to not do it every week. Two is that there needs to be some education about that that's just part of the natural cycles that are going on in the cash flow and that no one needs to panic. Nothing's gone terribly wrong. The other indication that you could have some timing in your cash flow is that it is always going one direction. And what I mean by that is that if you're looking at your cash flow historically or on a forward looking basis and it's going down, 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 or up, 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 it doesn't seem to be fluctuating with the inflows and the outflows that are happening. On the basis that you would expect from an historical viewpoint, you might have some seasonality. In other words, if you're looking at your historical cash flow in the slowest 3 months of the year, then it probably is going down, 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 right? The results of any given week or any given month are negative, and your cash balance itself is declining, or your line of credit balance is going up. Conversely, if you're in the haymaking part of the year, where most of your revenue gets generated, most of your cash buildup occurs, then you're seeing positive cash flow week in and week out, and you're seeing your cash balance improve, 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 improve. And neither one of those is a long-term answer. What I mean is that it's not going to last forever. And what you don't want to do is make decisions on that trend when you're inside of the trend without stepping back and looking at a broader time frame. So the timing in this perspective is less about the variability within the weeks included and more about the fact that you've got seasonality. And in those cases, you just want to make sure that you've extended the context for a long enough period that you're not jumping to or drawing conclusions that are not correct in the bigger picture. So it can be very easy to think that especially the positive side, is going to continue into infinity and to start maybe investing in additional new equipment, hiring more employees, things like that, because there's some false echoes from the more robust months that could indicate growth. They could also simply indicate seasonality. So it's something that you want to be aware of. If you don't have seasonality in your business, it may be an indication of a growth trend, particularly if you have initiatives that are manifesting themselves in that type of trend. Again, the bigger context is really, really important when it comes to making those types of conclusions. Conversely, you don't want to convince yourself that you're just in a low period if what's really happening is that you're losing customer share or you're losing customers slash market share, or there's been some other event that has created a slower demand. And there could be all kinds of things that lead to that. The other option is that you've had very slowly eroding margins, but your expenses have not also declined. And so what's happening over time is more that your profit that starts the cash flow cycle has been declining, and it has happened a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and has finally gotten to a place where it's big enough to be impacting other types of analysis that you're doing, including the cash flow analysis. And if there have been additional things like new loans that have been taken out in an effort to kind of shore up the cash flow side of the business, that could put an additional strain on what you're looking at. Again, it could simply be seasonality. It could also be some larger things at play, which is why the context of that is important. If it's seasonality in either one of those scenarios, then you will be able to look at historical results or have conversations with management, executive team members, owners, CEOs about when that seasonality is expected to start to turn the other direction. If you're in the busy season, when will it start to slow down? If you're in the slow season, when will it start to pick up? It's also important to understand that, because as those changes start to happen and you start to see them in your cash flow, you want to be aware that that's the main driver and that there's not something else that you should be investigating. So those are the different types of timing you might see inside of your cash flow analysis. And it's important to understand that the difference simply could be the timing. Otherwise, you can drive yourself crazy digging around, asking questions about the data, trying to make sure you're using the right information, trying to do a whole bunch of analysis on top of what you've already done, when the answer simply is it's timing. And here are the ways that we're going to make sure that it's not becoming something more permanent that we need to worry about or that we need to start acting differently about. Let me know if you're using any of these tools, if you found this conversation about timing to be helpful to you, if you have found yourself chasing timing differences only to have them fix themselves and kind of leave you scratching your head. I'd love to hear about it in the comments, and I would also love for you to subscribe to our channel.